Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the Foxeer Digisight. This camera does SharkByte as well as analog. So if you've got yourself SharkByte or a little whoop, you might be interested in this camera. Now this should have been done a long time ago. This is one of those many videos that I did not get done before Christmas. So I've got something I'm going to do a little bit different. I always kind of hate to think I might be wasting someone's time, your time. So we're going to review this camera a little bit different. When we get to the flight footage, what I'm going to do is I've got two little picture side by side, and one will be a sharpness of 70 because that was something that Foxeer reported back to me because I was delayed with the snow and the holidays and everything. They said we're hearing that a sharpness of 70, which is about half of what default is what people were liking with the camera. So we're going to do a comparison. The flights are different days, of course, but inside and outside, we're going to have a sharpness of 70, and then the stock sharpness, which is about 127 or something like that, I think was the default. So when we get to the footage, that's what we're going to do. That way you can take a closer look at maybe the optimal settings, if you see it that way. But let's dig into the camera, and then we'll get to that footage. With the cable and connectors, it weighs a little over 6 grams. Comparing that to the original RunCam camera, it weighs 5 grams. So about a gram more. It is 14 millimeters wide, as you would expect for a nano camera. Lens to the back looks like it's about 20 millimeters. It does come with a mounting adapter. It comes with a control board, and you do need this to switch between analog and digital. You've got to press this button for somewhere between 10 to 15 seconds to switch it from digital to analog. You also get some screws and washers for mounting your camera, and stickers. We're going to start inside. Not a science experiment here. That's not a one-to-one. Like I said in the intro, different days, different camera settings. It should be illuminated there on screen. It says sharpness 70. So that side, the left side, has got the sharpness at 70. Of course, we've got daytime and nighttime. I didn't necessarily plan it this way, but this is how I'm going to work it out because I think doing daytime and nighttime can also give you a couple other points of interest that you might be able to look at. How the camera does in the house even at nighttime. We will be doing both digital. This is digital. This is on SharkByte. So if you plug this camera into an analog VTX, it will not look like this. We'll get to that, but we're doing all SharkByte stuff first, okay? We want to make sure that that's very, very clear. I don't want to make anyone sad when they buy this camera and they plug it into an analog VTX and it looks different. So the first thing is this useful to you? Is this something that you would find useful? I don't think in the future, as far as camera reviews, I'd be able to do it very regularly, just because I don't know necessarily what setting. You know, if one of the camera manufacturers says, hey, you know, this is the optimal setting, and I'm thinking, why didn't you ship it that way? Because you should. But I guess if the community finds, excuse me, that there's a particular setting, then I'm fine with changing something if I haven't already done the review. Because camera reviews are some of the lowest commented and liked and viewed videos, I think spending a whole lot of time changing camera settings, that's not fun. I want to fly them, take a look at them, and then get on to the next thing. This particular one, I spent a pretty good amount of time flying it around, thankfully, because I got my little 75mm 2S whoop I can put it in and have some good time. So you can see also that we have an OSD. That recently came up in the comment section of a different video that I had actually quite a while ago, to where there wasn't an OSD, and someone was upset about that because I think they were planning to use it on a wing, maybe. So they wanted to know the voltage of the battery for their wing. So I got a little bit of an education there on why you would want the camera to have its own OSD. This one does. Typically in quads, we don't necessarily use it. Maybe you do. Maybe I'm just uninformed. That's the end of our inside flight. Let's look at our outside flight. Of course, this is a different quad. This is open prop design, so it can be nice and smooth outside. Different days, different lighting. It's different. You know, one was before Christmas. One is after, well, I think this flight is from January 8th or 9th. Depends on how quickly I can get this out. No, today's the 9th. I flew one of these flights today. So part of this flight footage is from today. Not that I'll have this video out tomorrow. Maybe. Who knows? But I wanted to give you an opportunity to take a look again with the camera changes for the settings. So you can diagnose outside. I think this would be used outside primarily. I know that there's going to be a select few, as there is in everything in quads. There's going to be a subsection of people that will use SharkByte on whoops like I have, and there'll be a subsection that won't. But I'll be using it on whatever it comes out to test with. You know, I like to fly and look at different things. I'm encouraged by the future of SharkByte. I'm a little bit concerned about the DJI stuff. I don't know how that's going, but it does concern me a little bit that we haven't seen the new products. I thought they were supposed to be yesterday. I thought they were supposed to at least launch from, so you could buy them from vendors. You wouldn't necessarily get them. I don't know. I don't stay really well informed when it comes to that trail of following the latest information about DJI, but because it's so prevalent, it's hard to miss sometimes. So I am a bit concerned that there's something going on there with the manufacturing side. I know that there have been some trade issues going on. So we'll see. But anyways, we still got SharkByte. We got Fat Shark doing SharkByte, and we got cameras from Foxeer and RunCam now. I think Foxeer and RunCam are also doing other cameras. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an entry from Caddx as well. More camera options is just better for us. You know, more competition, more options. Maybe you want the lightest camera. Maybe you want the best image. Maybe you want a particular field of view on your camera. Maybe you like a particular sort of blue hue. You know, that we're individuals. We have all sorts of different things that we look for in all those little different aspects of life, whether it's FPV, board games, cars, exercise, food. You know, we all have different preferences, and with competition, we get to pick those preferences. Hopefully that's been enough. We've got about 2.5 minutes of outside flight as well. We've flown in and out of the shadows. We've flown behind some stuff. Just to kind of give you some, all sorts of stuff to look at. We got to see some breakup with SharkByte. Some people have talked to me about SharkByte and how that's unacceptable. Well, it's pretty early on is how I look at it, and it's probably going to be getting better. So I'm not comparing SharkByte to DJI. I'm comparing SharkByte to Analog. That's how I look at it, because I don't think DJI stuff is going to get any lighter. I could be proven wrong. That's awesome. It's awesome to be wrong, and on the positive side of things. But I'm concerned that we're never going to see something that we can really put in a whoop and fly very well, and we definitely wouldn't be able to fly it with any sort of race style. So that's one of my primary concerns with the DJI. I'm encouraged by the changes that we've seen with the Nebula Pro, and the Nano apparently got a silent update as well. Just a bit of discussion so we could take some time. That way you don't have dead air you're listening to while you watch the review footage of the SharkByte side of this Foxeer camera. I think we can move on into the analog side of things. This is analog, and this is going to be our light test. You can see I'm using the sleeve of my blue jacket. I misplaced my cloths. I don't know where all the blue cloths are going. I suspect I'm putting them somewhere very specific so that I don't misplace them and then I'm forgetting where that is. But anyways, I think this is still pretty effective. I did want to do the light test just so you got an example of it. Let's sit it down and we'll go for a fly on the analog side of things. So hopefully it's very, very clear when we're looking at analog versus digital. And this is something else I wanted to highlight in the differences in these cameras and the differences in the services, whether it's analog versus digital as well. I think it's fairly apparent in the image quality. And some of you that are well-versed are going to know this stuff already. But I always try to think, I never know when the first time, someone just starts to look into FPV. Maybe they're doing their homework to see whether it's for them or what's all involved. So I try to put little dabbles of information in the videos for everyone, whether you're a longtime veteran or you're just doing your homework and thinking about getting started. I did notice Foxeer cameras tend to have kind of a brighter blue hue to them, and this one doesn't seem to have that, but correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. Maybe it's my cloud coverage. Maybe. I'm not certain. We do get to see the quad shadow, which is one of my favorite things when I'm doing camera reviews, is looking out for the quad. You can see some snow still out. Most of the sunny areas, the snow has melted off. The roads are good and clear, but we still have piles of snow sitting around. Depending upon the location, in the shade, it doesn't melt off as well. We did have some rain after the snow. It was about 2 days after the rain, and I think that kind of helped, but it also kind of made things sloppy as far as the dirt goes, turning that more into mud and puddles. That is Midwest living, we get all sorts of different weather, and we have to just kind of cope with it. That's why I love to fly inside, because inside the weather is always the same. Comfortable and no wind. Hopefully that's enough of the analog footage for you to grade that out and see if this is a camera you want to use for analog purposes as well. Let's move into the settings. So these are the settings, and we are looking at it on the SharkByte side of things, but the settings for the camera are the same, whether you're doing SharkByte or you're doing analog. So we're just going to run through these things. Not a lot of settings here. We're seeing the ability to turn the camera over on most cameras that have the ability to change settings anymore. And there you see the default sharpness. This is one of the first recordings I did, and it was 127. So I reduced that in those side-by-side views to 70, and I labeled that so you could tell that for certain. I didn't do any night testing with this particular camera outside. It just was too dark. You know, it gets dark at like 4:50 now, at least pretty dark. Our days are getting longer now that we're over the into the 2021, but you know, it's not getting dramatically longer. It just a touch every day. But that's a look at our camera settings. Let me know what you thought about the sharpness settings when I changed those. Did that make enough of a difference? Was it too small to see, you know, any sort of critiques, criticisms, or positive things you might have to say about that sort of view? I wanted to do something different because my review is so late. The last point on this is the price, and essentially it's $50. So what do you think about that? Now, keep in mind, the RunCam Digisight camera is also $50, and it only does SharkByte. Now this does analog. That's another question I have. Is anyone looking for a digital and analog camera? We've seen this before on the other side of things. Seems to me we should just pick one, right? Maybe I'm wrong. You tell me down in the comments section below. If you do have any other comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in that section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.